What is up, burr sniffers? Welcome to my elephant graveyard, as my wife likes to call it. In today's video, I want to sit down and go through my top 5 shed hunting tips that I hope help you guys, give you some education. Hopefully you can go out and use this information and be successful in the field and pick up more sheds. I get asked weekly, what are some tips to find more sheds? And so I kind of thought about some things and I went through my top 5 that I feel, and this is all just my opinion. It's not like this is how you do it or this is what you need to do. This is just my opinion that I know has helped me in the past, and hopefully I can just give you some education that can help you along the way. So we're going to go through top 5 shed hunting tips, and here we go. Number 1, scouting. Scouting is literally the best thing you can do in order to find sheds. And there's a couple different ways that you can go about scouting. One is you can drive around and you can see the animals. You can literally pick any random canyon and just stop at certain pullouts, get out, do some glassing, and just look for the animals. 2, you can e-scout. I use Scout to Hunt app. It kind of lets you mark your sheds. They have great mapping service where you can literally pull up anywhere and anything. They have an unpaved layer that gets you into places that I never knew existed, and that has been super helpful. They have elevation band layers, the whole works. So get on Scout to Hunt app. It's free for Android and iPhone users. That has been a crucial part of my success in scouting as well. Getting on that app and just going through everything and just trying to figure things out. Along with scouting, even when you're going on trips and you see animals on the side of the road, I like to put a pin on where I see animals, and then I like to actually go back there and scout it out. That's just, you kind of just have to put in your time and just keep tabs on those animals. Like even once, twice a week, the more obviously you can get out and keep tabs on animals, you're probably going to be more successful that way. So that is my number 1 tip, is scouting. I promise you, if you get out and put in the time, you're gonna be benefited from it. And I mean, you can always get away from people and you don't have to just drive. You can literally pick a canyon, get out, go hike in the backcountry and get away from the people and find new animals that nobody else puts in the time and the effort to go find. So scouting, trust me, do it. My number 2 shed hunting tip is optics. Have good optics, whether it's binos or spotting scope. I like to take both. Usually binos, I'm running my 10 by 50s, and I have kind of a strategy when I'm glassing. Usually I'll hurry and comb through a mountainside real fast, just kind of try to pick out the low-hanging fruit, and I'm looking for anything white. Obviously during brown season, you're going to be looking for something brown or something that looks like it's not supposed to be there. And that's kind of how I go about things. I'll hurry and do a quick scan, and then I'll go back to the exact same hillside, and I'll sit there and I'll comb through, and I'll start from the top and go left to right and then move down a little bit, come right to left, move down a little bit, and I just basically make a grid through all that stuff. And I like to find a high vantage point where I can look down into places, and there's been times where I've been up glassing on hillsides and I've spotted 5 different sheds on one hillside. And glassing is literally, it's like walking a hillside without actually walking a hillside. So I like to just sit there, take my time, pick apart a whole mountainside. I like to look under trees. I like to obviously look in the open grass. If you're up above on a sagebrush flat, I like to look in all the sage, see if you can see a tine sticking out of the sage, whatever the case may be. Glassing is important. I love to glass. I probably glass up, I'm not exaggerating, probably 60 to 70% of my sheds that I actually find. So glassing is a huge, huge tool that you guys need to be utilizing. Sorry, just noticed that my camera went out of focus. Stupid thing. But number 3 shed hunting tip is elevation. Depending on where you're at is kind of going to play a role, especially where I'm from. I typically find elk sheds anywhere between 7,000 feet and 8,500 feet. Obviously, that's going to change wherever you live and wherever you're shed hunting. But for my own personal experience, I found them right in that range, and deer, it kind of doesn't really matter. Deer, I have found everywhere. But that sweet spot for elk, 7,000 to 8,500 feet of elevation. And like I said, depending on where you're from, that is all going to play a role. I've noticed in my experience as well that elk typically like to follow the snow line. So if you're out scouting and stuff like that and keeping tabs on these animals, this is all going to kind of play a role all together, whether you're glassing, whether you're scouting, whatever the case may be. Elevation is going to be huge. So if you're up at 10,000 feet, you're probably not going to find a lot of sheds. Or if you're too low, you're probably not going to find a lot of sheds. You may be looking at a couple deer sheds, but that's kind of just depends on where you're from. If you're in an area kind of like myself that gets a lot more snow, I'm also not going to be checking north side slopes all that often. I'm going to be checking the south side slopes, the slopes that actually burn the snow off the fastest. And also windswept ridges. The elk typically, well, and deer, they typically like to stay on those windswept ridges because that's where the vegetation is. That's where it's going to come out first. So if you can kind of narrow down those type of slopes, whether it's south or east or west, whatever the case may be, I typically like to be on the south slopes and then just glass the north slopes. It's kind of just benefited me doing it that way. But like I said, don't overlook north side slopes. Just, they're typically not going to be in the deep ass snow on a north side slope. They're typically going to be on that south side slope, so keep that in mind as well. Number 4 shed hunting tip that I could give is look for food, shelter, and water. Especially if you're in a drier region, water is going to be crucial. I'd give yourself probably about a 5 to 10 mile radius and be searching everywhere around that water source, because obviously the animals need water. Try to look for those transition areas from bedding to food to water, because they're going to be traveling throughout all those different areas, and you kind of just want to narrow down exactly where those areas are. Depending on where you live is also going to depend on what they're going to be eating. So it all just kind of varies, and like I said, this all just comes down to you guys putting in the time and figuring out all these different things. But if you can narrow down those 3 things, it's going to be very beneficial for you. And finally, my 5th tip that I could give is distance. Respect the animals, especially in snowier regions. You have to let them just have their space, because after the rut, through the winter, they're very vulnerable, they're very weak, and you just got to be respectful. I understand everybody has their own ethics about things, but I promise you, if you give the animals their space, they're all going to drop in one, confined area, rather than having some yahoo go up there because one bull or one buck has dropped and they push everything all around, and now you have to, find out where they all went and where they all scattered to. I promise you, if you just sit there, you be patient, you let everything drop, you're going to find, instead of maybe 1 or 2 sheds, you're going to find like 20 sheds. If you have 10 bucks or bulls sitting right there, they're all going to drop in about the same exact area. I'm just saying, give the animals their respect. I promise you, it will benefit you in a whole bunch of different ways. Those are my top 5 tips. If you guys have any other questions, please put them down in the comments. I will seriously go through every single comment, and I will make a video of every question that you guys have, because that's something that I want to bring to the Rise and Shed channel this year in 2022, is I want to help you guys a lot more. I want to be more educational. I want to be more in tune with you guys. I want to, either collaborate, or I just want to help you guys out as much as possible, because, without you guys, this business doesn't go anywhere. I'm just super thankful for all the people that I've met, all the people that follow along. It's just, I'm super blessed to do what I do, and it's all because of you guys that Rise and Shed has been successful up to this point. So I thank you guys for everything, and I'm serious. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments, and I'm going to get to them, and I'm going to make a video about it. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you got some information out of this video. I hope it helps you out. I would love to hear your guys' feedback. I want to know these things. So thank you guys. I love you. We'll see you next time.